Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Before we begin, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes in life, the brightest stars must fade, not because their light is gone, but because love pulls them in a new direction. Today, we're on the brink of an emotional new chapter in television history. Kelly Ripa, the Empress of Daytime, the woman whose laughter brightened living rooms for decades, has decided to step away from it all. And the reason? It's the most heartfelt of all, to support her husband, Mark Consuelos, during a moment when love and commitment matter far more than ratings or cameras ever will. But what truly transpired behind the polished headlines? What struggle, what dedication, and what astonishing truths led Kelly to this agonizing, yet profoundly human choice? Stay with me, because by the end of this, you won't just see Kelly Ripa in a new light. You might also view your own life and relationships differently, too. For more than 30 decades, Kelly Ripa has been more than just a television host. She's been a companion to millions. Whether it was alongside Regis Philbin in those early years, or with Ryan Seacrest, or most recently with her own husband, Mark Consuelos, Kelly brought something magical. That radiant smile, that sharp wit, that glimmer in her eye. It wasn't just TV. It was comfort. Just think, for so many of us, turning on morning TV became a daily ritual. A familiar voice as you made your coffee, a laugh that made even the bleakest Monday feel more bearable. She possessed that rare talent of being relatable and glamorous simultaneously, the neighbor you'd chat with in the grocery store, and the star who could shine on the red carpet. But beneath the laughter and boundless energy, very few were aware of the private struggles, the sacrifices, and the times Kelly's heart was split between the studio lights and her family's needs. To fully grasp this emotional farewell, we must go back to 1995, when Kelly Ripa first saw Mark Consuelos on the set of All My Children. It was a moment straight out of a storybook. Two young actors, both driven, both charismatic, and their chemistry was immediate. Within a year, they had eloped in Las Vegas. From the beginning, theirs wasn't just a marriage. It was a true partnership. They built their careers side by side, raised 3 children, and somehow succeeded in keeping the magic alive under the immense pressure of fame. Their love became part of Kelly's public story. She frequently spoke of Mark with admiration, sometimes with playful humor, but always with deep affection. Yet what most of the audience never saw was how heavily Kelly relied on Mark during the hardest times in her career. When critics attacked her, when schedules wore her down, Mark was the constant anchor at home. And now, all these years later, the roles have shifted. Kelly has become his anchor. And it's this shift that explains the most shocking decision of her career. Away from the glamour of red carpets and magazine covers, Mark Consuelos has navigated challenges that seldom made the news. Close friends describe him as strong, proud, sometimes too proud to admit weakness. But in recent years, whispers became louder. Talk of health issues, of profound exhaustion, of moments that rocked the couple to their very core. For Kelly, who lived her life in front of cameras, there was no stage large enough. No audience big enough that could ever matter more than the health of her husband. She had watched him stay strong for her. Now, it was her turn. This was not a choice made lightly. Imagine being at the pinnacle of your career, with millions of viewers tuning in daily, yet deciding to walk away simply because the person you love most requires your support. That requires courage. That requires love in its most undiluted form. But what exactly did Mark's struggles expose about the fragile nature of success and the real meaning of family? The answer might just surprise you. For Kelly and Mark, family has always been the center of their universe. They raised 3 children, Michael, Lola, and Joaquin, each finding their own path while growing up in the shadow of 2 famous parents. But Kelly always said, "My proudest role is not on TV. It's being a mother." So when Mark's health faltered, the choice wasn't just about him. It was about the entire family. Their children, now young adults, were watching. And Kelly understood that the greatest lesson she could ever teach them wasn't about celebrity or wealth. It was about being there for the people you love, regardless of the cost. By stepping away from television, Kelly sent a message that resonated far beyond Hollywood. A career might define your public life, but love defines your private one. And it's that exact choice, the bravery to walk away, that has left fans both devastated and profoundly inspired. When Kelly finally announced her departure, it wasn't with a lot of drama. It happened on a Tuesday morning, just after the first commercial break. The usual energetic music faded, but the lights didn't come up to their full, blinding brightness. Kelly turned in her chair, not to the audience, but to face Mark. The camera zoomed in, capturing the way her hands were clasped so tightly in her lap, her knuckles white. "For almost 30 years," she began, her voice already thick with emotion, "I've had the privilege of coming here. This building, this show, it's not just a job. It's my home. You," she said, looking at the audience, "you've been my family." The audience, sensing this was more than a standard monologue, grew quiet. Beside him, Mark sat perfectly still, his signature smile gone, replaced by a look of profound, almost painful admiration. "But there's another home," Kelly continued, now placing her hand on Mark's knee. "There's another family. And for decades, I've been so incredibly lucky to balance both. But as you get older, you realize that balance isn't really balance. It's a high wire act. And you can only stay on that wire for so long before you realize you have to choose the ground." She took a deep breath. "My partner, my best friend, the man I fell in love with when we were just kids, he needs me. And for the first time in my career, I need to be in a place that isn't here. I need to be just his. And so I've made the decision to step away from live." The silence was broken by a collective gasp from the audience. Mark's eyes glistened. He didn't speak, but simply brought his hand up to cover hers. A silent, public thank you. There were no flashing graphics, no farewell package, just a woman, at the height of her power, choosing to walk away. The show cut to an unscheduled commercial break, leaving America to simply stare at their screens. But that announcement was just the public face of a private, agonizing story. The whispers we mentioned earlier, they had become a roar. For those who knew them, the signs were everywhere. It started with small things. Just a few weeks ago, Mark revealed on air that he had sustained a painful arm injury in his sleep. He joked it was so pathetic, a sign of getting old. The audience laughed, but sources close to the couple say Kelly didn't find it funny. It was a sign of a body that was so depleted, so pushed to its limits, that it was literally breaking down, even in a state of rest. Think about Mark's schedule. This is not just a man who co-hosted daily high-energy talk show in New York. This is a man who, for years, has been a prolific actor. He juggled live with grueling, physically demanding roles on shows like Riverdale. More recently, he's been flying between coasts for a major recurring role on 911 and filming for the upcoming blockbuster Scream. He is a man who, by all accounts, does not know how to say no. That drive, that proud streak Kelly's friends talk about, it's what made him a star, but it was also his greatest vulnerability. Insiders say Kelly watched this relentless pace with a growing sense of dread. She saw the exhaustion behind his eyes, the deep discipline he applied to his high-protein diets, not for health, but as a desperate attempt to manage a system on the verge of total burnout. Remember all that playful, on-air bickering, the recent airport divorce spat that made headlines? We all laughed it off as relatable husband and wife banter. But it wasn't just banter. It was a raw, public glimpse into the real-life stress of a couple being torn apart by impossible logistics. Kelly joking that Mark gets irritated at the airport wasn't just a gag. It was the truth of a man stretched thin, a man whose fuse was shortening by the day. The breaking point, a source alleges, came 2 months ago. It wasn't a public event. It was a private moment. Mark had just returned from a 3-day cross-country filming commitment, only to have to be on set for Live hours later. Kelly found him in the kitchen, asleep at the table, a cup of coffee still in his hand, utterly spent. She realized then that all the success, all the ratings, all the applause, it was all just noise, and it was drowning out the needs of the man she loved. She had watched him stand by her, when she was criticized, when she was exhausted, when she took over the show from Regis. Now, it was her turn to be his anchor. Her decision to leave wasn't just about her stepping away. It was a message to him. It was her way of saying, stop, none of this matters if I don't have you. By removing herself from the live equation, she was removing the one non-negotiable anchor that kept them tied to the New York daily grind. She was in essence giving him permission to finally slow down, because she was slowing down with him. She was choosing the man she eloped with in Vegas over the empire they built. What happens now? The network is scrambling. There's talk of guest hosts, of a total rebrand.